Well, in 1926, one of the ways to get rid of the boats was to just plain sink them.
They started telling us tales about the steamboats that were on the bottom of Lake Minnetonka.
Between the demolished red clay tile and filling the boats with water, they gradually sank.
And when the diver hit the bottom, he said, "What'd you do, set up a gym for me down here?" And Jerry knew right away what it was.
There they lay, still in the depths of Lake Minnetonka. The Como, the Hopkins, the White Bear, and the steamboat Minnehaha, though untouched, were restless with the history preserved in their structures awaiting restoration.
Well, I guess I would have to go back to the mid-70s when we first moved out to this area. We bought our first house about a half-mile north of Lake Minnetonka. And we, at that time, just started our underwater construction business. He was in underwater or underground construction, and he had been a military diver in Vietnam, so he thought, we'll just mesh the two together and do underwater construction. And when the local people heard about our underwater construction company, they started telling us tales about the steamboats that were on the bottom of Lake Minnetonka. My husband, Jerry, was an adventuresome guy, and he liked a challenge. Immediately, he wanted to know more about them. I started researching, looking for old books with stories, and just kept gathering information, got a general idea where the boats were.
Even though Jerry's interest in finding the boat grew every day, the task of achieving such a goal seemed nearly impossible.
In Jerry's spare time, he would take his boat out on the lake, and he would dive in and look on the bottom and try and find these boats, but there's a lot of leak out there, so it wasn't that easy.
Fred Pierce, who had historical connections to the lake, presented Jerry with a bottom graph reader which outlined the ground surfaces of the lake, with the hopes of locating and resurrecting one of the steamboats for the purpose of restaurant seating.
So he took his boat out what he knew was a deep part of the lake and potentially where the steamboats could be sunk. And when the diver hit the bottom, he said, "What'd you do, set up a gym for me down here?" And Jerry knew right away what it was. It was the railing on the steamboat. And Jerry said, "Get up here right away," because he wanted to go down. So he pulled the diver up. Jerry suited up, he jumped in, he went down. Next thing he came up was with the wheel on the steamboat, which had been sitting down there 54 years.
It was 1979 when the steamboat was found, and that was Jerry's only goal, to find it. There were no plans to raise the boat.
I think we had about 12 commercial divers working for us at that time. Just for the fun of it, we all went out on the barge and started setting up and diving. We had big airbags, lift bags to lift it up, but it was not that easy. The boat was in the muck up to the rub rail. Pretty soon, Bill Nickham gave us another barge, and he gave us a crane to help tug on it. And pretty soon he gave us another barge and another crane, and pretty soon he gave us his whole crew. And we kept tugging and pulling and strapping and just couldn't get it up.
In much determination, the crew decided to send a diver underneath the belly of the boat in order to send a strap to the other side. While it wasn't an easy task, the diver came through with the plan.
We started tugging with the strap, and pretty soon it started breaking away from the bottom, and by the end of the 5th day, it was up. And the next day, we towed it closer to the island so it wouldn't be in such deep water, and then the next day, we brought it into Excelsior. And it floated on its own. It was in really good shape. When we brought the boat up, we didn't know which boat it was. There was no identifying mark on it. Brought it up on shore, and when it started to dry out, the letters popped out on the side of the boat, and it said Minnehaha.
The boat remained out in the elements for the next 10 years as the state of Minnesota decided what to do with the Minnehaha. Finally, the state turned the boat over to a museum that restored her to operational status over a time frame of 6 years. Minnehaha's maiden voyage occurred on May 25, 1996, though the maintenance process still continues.
Many people don't know it, but we replaced a good portion of the hull. And to the point where you could stand on one side of the hull and see all the way through to the opposite side of the hull.
Well, during the summertime, I'm a boat captain and also operations director. We'll keep track of what people are up to and make sure that the boat is operating and crews are there and stuff is on the boat. That's basically it. It's kind of a complex job, but at the same time, we've got a real good crew and people are pretty responsible, so it makes it easy.
There's two aspects of the volunteerism. One is being a crew member in the summer. The other is working on the boat as it gets cleaned up and rehabbed during the winter.
I just remember thinking, there is no way we are ever going to get this boat ready for the summer. And we somehow did it. Everybody pulled together.
Oh, I think it's some of the cruises towards the end of the day and at night when the sun's going down and the weather's nice. Those are good times.
This is something of days gone by. You're not going to see steam engines anymore when these are gone. This is a mode of transportation that was in the early 1900s. It's the last of them.
Well, I think the fact that it's over 100 years old and it's really the only thing of its type on Lake Minnetonka and probably the only thing like it in Minnesota. It's a very historic vessel, and the fact that steam driven is quite unique. So there's a lot of unique things about this particular boat, the Minnehaha, that make it special.